Hi everyone, Cynthia here for your Sunday School Lent lesson. During the season of Lent, I'm going to be offering, like I did during Advent, a weekly Sunday School lessons, which is great for your kids and also for the family together. You can do this as a group together. I'm going to be using the Illustrated Ministry resource. If you're part of the Westminster community, we have purchased this resource for our congregation, and so you can contact the office if you haven't received your copy yet to get a copy. So you can print it at home if you have that capability. If you need a copy printed, we can do that for you at the office. If you've just stumbled upon this video and you're interested in doing the resource at home with your kids, Illustrated Ministry does sell copies of the resource for individual families, and I think it's about $13 Canadian, $10 US for one copy for your personal use. I'll put the info about the resource and links to the resource in the description of this video. So during Lent, we're going to be working through these lessons together. I'll be offering a video each Sunday afternoon, hopefully getting it posted the night before, but sometimes plans go astray. And we'll work on this stuff together, and it's an activity for us to learn together. So for this week, we're talking about treasures. And so we're going to start with a Bible story, of course. So this is from the Gospel of Matthew, and this is Jesus talking to the disciples and to the crowds. Jesus says, "Don't store treasures for yourself here on earth. Moths and rust will destroy treasures here on earth, and thieves can break into your house and steal the things you have. So store your treasures in heaven. The treasures in heaven cannot be destroyed by moths or rust, and thieves cannot break in and steal that treasure. Your heart will be where your treasure is." So people would gather around Jesus on a mountainside to hear him teach often. And Jesus' message about treasure is found in what we call the Sermon on the Mount, where he gives a bunch of lessons about how we ought to live together and how we're to treat each other. Jesus saw people's hurt, he saw people's pain, and he cared for them in many ways. One such way was his teaching. Jesus taught how to faithfully live for God. And he surprised people with his stories and challenged them to rethink things that they had always done. While it might feel easy to get back at someone who's hurt you and pile up more than what we need and worry about our stuff, Jesus shared another way. Jesus said one of the ways is not to store up piles of treasures for ourselves. All our physical treasures like clothes and technology, jewelry, and toys will eventually be ruined, lost, destroyed, or forgotten. I have many toys that I no longer have, and I don't know where they ended up as I grew older. Those kinds of things just don't last forever. On the other hand, invisible treasures, like knowing how to give rather than take and love as God loves, cannot be destroyed. Treasures you store up through love you share last forever. So during the season of Lent, these 5 weeks, we slow down and we figure out what's most important to us. Jesus called these things treasures. That's what's really important to us. Sometimes our treasures can be seen and touched. Sometimes they are invisible. Jesus tells us we will find out where our heart is when we name our treasures. Another way of saying this is, your treasures reveal what is important to you. This Lent, we're going to think about our invisible treasures. We're going to ask ourselves, what is most important to me and my heart? And so some of the questions we might want to answer is, what do you treasure and what do these collections say about you? I'm going to share with you one of my treasures, one of my physical treasures. This is a binder full of cards. These are comic book cards. These are Marvel cards that I collected these with my dad when I was a kid. So I have lots and lots and lots of these. And so these are one of my treasures. This is a physical thing that has value to me that I keep. So it's a physical treasure. It won't last forever. One day I won't have these. But it's also, the reason I keep them isn't just because they're worth money or they look good. It's because they have an invisible value to me. These treasures reflect time I spent with my dad. It reflects the love I have for my dad and the relationship we had. I have good memories attached to these cards and about the love I've shared with my dad. And so whenever I look at these, it reminds me of the love. So the value of these aren't in their physical aspects. The value of these cards are in the memories. And so I value the love I have for my dad. So that's one example of a treasure that is, it's a physical treasure on the one hand, but then also it reminds me of an invisible, which is the love and relationship I have with my dad that is a memory, but also grows when I remember it. So for our activity today, there are two things to print. One's a coloring sheet. I've already colored mine here. So you can print this and color it at any time you want. And the other is the second sheet that says our invisible treasures. And so what you're gonna need is the two activity sheets and print as many copies as kids you have, or they could share this one if you don't think they need all of it. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the different types of treasures, those invisible treasures that we can do. And so you'll notice on this activity sheet, there says things like take care of yourself and spend time together, or care for a pet, or help someone. Those are the invisible treasures we want to focus on. So invisible treasures are not just feelings. Invisible treasures grow when we make loving choices with loving intentions for each other and ourselves. When we choose to have a good attitude about something hard, when we choose to take care of ourselves, when we help out a neighbor or give something special away, our invisible treasures grow. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut the top of this off. So you're gonna need some scissors, and then you're gonna need some glue or tape. I have some scissors. And as always, be safe with your scissors, cut away from yourself and from your fingers, which is very important. So you're gonna cut off the top of the page, our invisible treasures. Then you're gonna glue it to the top of a piece of paper. So you can use construction paper, you can be any color, or a plain piece of printed blank white paper. I've got purple because purple's the color we often see in the church during Lent, so I thought that made sense to choose a purple piece of paper for this activity. So then you're gonna glue your little our invisible treasures to the top of it. And I'm gonna do that right now. I'm gonna use a little bit of glue. I'm using a glue stick because it's less messy. Always be sparing with your glue. A little bit goes a long way. You're gonna hear me say that a lot when I do crafts. A little bit of glue goes a long way and is easier for cleanup. So I'm just sticking that on, and there's the top glued on. So then you're gonna look at these other things, these invisible treasures, and think about the ways you can use them this week. For example, if you find a way to help others, what you're gonna do is you're gonna cut that out, and then you're gonna glue it to your page and write out on it the way you help. One of the treasures on here says care for a pet. I have a pet, her name is Annabelle. You may have seen videos of her before if you watch the Advent. I'll throw in a video of Annabelle here and there throughout these lessons because she's super cute. So one of the invisible treasures is about caring for a pet, caring for a creature who needs help. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut out my caring for a pet because I do that all the time with Annabelle. And so this week, how did I care for Annabelle? Well, let's see, I got a marker here. I cleaned out her litter box. What else? I fed her. I played with her. She has, one of her favorite toys is a little fake bird with feathers. She loves that toy. So that's some of the things I did this week to care for my pet. And so I wrote that on my little square. I'm gonna glue that to my page. So throughout the week, look at some of the suggestions and see if you can fill them out and glue them to your invisible treasure chest. So there's that there. And there's other ones. Take care of yourself. How do you take care of yourself? Do you maybe help fold the laundry for yourself? Do you wash your hair? Do you take your bath? Do you get dressed yourself in the morning? I did my hair for this video. That's the way I take care of myself. Help someone else. Maybe you have a sibling, a younger sibling that needs some help with homework and you're older and you know how to do it. Maybe you can help out your sibling. What else is on here? Give something you have to someone who needs it. Maybe you have a lot of toys that you don't use anymore. Maybe there's someone who could use it. Maybe there's a food bank. In Orangeville, there's the Orangeville Food Bank. Maybe you could donate some food to the food bank to another family and to some kids who need food. So those are some other invisible treasures that you can store up this week. So before we go, I'm going to read to you a story about invisible treasures. And then I'm going to do I'll light a candle and then we'll say a prayer, okay? If you have a candle at home, you can use that. You can also use a fake candle if you have one of those little electric ones as well. So this is a story about treasures. Once upon a time, there was a family who lived on a boat. The family owned 2 treasure chests. One was a wooden chest with a heavy metal lock. In it, they stored all of their money, jewelry, and fancy clothes. This chest was precious to the family. The other treasure chest was invisible. It could only hold invisible treasures. In the invisible chest, the family stored their love for each other, determination, hope for the future, and generosity. This chest was precious to the family. The family protected both treasures. Sometimes the invisible treasures, like generosity, would inspire them to give away some of their visible treasures. The invisible treasure would keep growing, no matter how much they gave away, no matter how empty the wooden treasure chest became. One day, there was a leak in the boat, and water began rushing in. The family escaped and swam to shore while their boat sank. They cried, "Everything we owned is gone. Our treasure chest, all of our money, we will never see it again." One family member looked over on the beach and saw nothing but her family. Her heart felt warm, even though her skin felt cold. "Hey everybody, our invisible chest is here. It survived the sinking." They looked around. Even though they were very sad to have lost their boats and their wooden chest of treasure, they still had their hope, love, determination, and generosity. That day, they picked up their even larger invisible treasure chest and they started again. So I'm going to light a candle and then we're going to say a little prayer together. I'm just going to grab my matches here. So if you're using matches, make sure to be safe. And it takes practice to light matches. It took me a long time to figure out how to do this. And sometimes it doesn't always work on the first try, but we're going to try this. I got it on the first try. And so I'm going to light my candle here. Make sure you blow out your match if you're using a match and put your candle somewhere safe. And then I'm going to read us a little prayer that we can say. Generous God, you never run out of love. You never get tired of giving. Help us choose your ways of love and justice, giving instead of hoarding up for ourselves, and fill our hearts to overflowing. Amen. Bye for now, and I'll see you next week.